Hi, this is Ed Atkins. I'm going to try and say some things about safe conduct in lieu of people being able to go and see it. So it's a video that was born out of a few things. One was just at a certain point in my life where I was travelling an awful lot, going through airports, and noticing that most of the videos that were made to show you what to do as you go through security were animations, like computer-generated animations predominantly. Usually cartoonified, but sort of realistic people docilely going through the motions of what you do. You put in the tray, you take this off, you do this, that and the other. And as someone that uses a lot of computer-generated animation, it felt like an incredibly fortuitous observation to sort of see how this medium and this aesthetic is employed in process of sort of protocol, security, safety, these things. And I guess I straightforwardly wanted to make one, really, because it seems quite clear that they're using it as a kind of way to mollify those people going through security, to try and sort of make it seem like what they're doing is kind of fun, is to infantilize in a certain way and to make it kind of just a silly dance or something. So yeah, anyway, I wanted to make one of these really, but obviously something that was absurdly, hysterically kind of satirical version of it. And then thinking about what it was to go through security, to kind of surrender yourself to authorities, and that as a kind of more or less vivid encounter with authoritative determining process for those of us that are privileged enough to not encounter it much. Or at least it's the point where it becomes most visible, I suppose, and that these videos were attempting to make that process recede a bit. Anyway, it seemed like a good use of the things that I've been rehearsing for a while, i.e. animation, allegorical, caricatured kind of representations of what happens to bodies, using a medium that has no body, all of these things. Also the kind of vernacular of advertising, that really in a way these videos in airports are also interchangeable to a certain degree with advertisements, hoardings, and information. So yeah. At the same time I wanted to speak about quite literally bodies being processed. A lot of the language of computer-generated animation derives from physical analogues. I mean, all of it, of course, because that's what our language was built around, was to describe analog reality. So rendering was a big one, because that's the kind of the process of making manifest the final 3D image of an animation, but is also a word that comes from the abattoir, from butchery, from rendering down fat, things like that. So yeah, the video is full of a kind of violence, bodily, depicted in this sort of realistic, but obviously completely caricatured and cartoonified version of airport security, a body going through it. Ravel's Bolero plays a big part, and it kind of stands in for modernism, really, and modernity, as a kind of apex of modernist aesthetics. It is a kind of aping of machine, industrial rhythms, dehumanized processes. You know, Ravel called it a machine for orchestra, not really even a piece of music. People thought he was mad, that the piece was insane, and obviously now it has entered the culture, been subsumed by the culture as yet more kind of stock, really. It's not radical at all, it's not felt like that. It's also a dance, it's a bolero. So yeah, I wanted this airport security thing to be a dance, the dance of bodies going through this process. The main figure would be kind of completely acquiescent to authoritative process, the kind of slippage from safety into security, from safety into totalitarian processes and gestures, which, you know, I think has salience now, even as all the airports are closed, as the borders are closed, as everything is closed for our own good, which, you know, is not really what is at question here. It's what kind of states of exception can remain afterwards. You know, that there are certainly going to be states that hang on to things that they've been able to instigate under the guise of the coronavirus pandemic. So yeah, I think safe conduct touches on a lot of this stuff. It's also silly. I find it very funny, you know. It's not meant to be entirely serious. It's presented, you know, on these three panels like a sort of provisional jumbotron or something, you know, something that for displaying spectacle, I suppose, and for looking up at. You know, it's supposed to be awesome in some way. Dystopian, certainly, but also, yeah, fun, silly. It's important to say that the Bolero as well is part of a long litany of cultural products that I really like to use, which are sort of already over in some way. They exist in a kind of afterwards of their own potency. They just keep going, used in car ads and ice cream ads and Muzak in elevators, whatever, you know, the way that something is diminished and also dissipated, becomes like a gas in the culture. The Bolero is like that, I think. But I think a lot of the languages that I use in the work and in safe conduct, these kind of lower third little title things, you know, like where usually you'd have a ticker beneath the news, they're presented in safe conduct as sort of empty, or little corporate logos that have no corporation. It's just the kind of insidious seep of corporate and governmental and state sort of languages into our vernacular of entertainment, but also of information and things, you know. It's all there. The sound is really important to me. The squelch, you know, computer-generated animation without sound is this kind of floaty, no clipping kind of nothing, you know. It's only when you add sound that weight appears, because sound reports material, really. You know, it is a kind of proof of weight and presence. Anyway, there's a lot there. I hope when everything calms down you can go and see it. In the meantime, there's a trailer on YouTube, I think, somewhere, and probably snippets and bits scattered about the internet. It is important that you see it in person. It's not something that can be translated for the internet entirely, because half of it is about your body in front of this thing. It's kind of overwhelming repulsiveness and funniness and, you know, all those things. It's not, ironically enough, it's not really a work built for the times that we're living through right now, of kind of wanting to share online. But then this message is, I hope it finds you all okay, getting through this, bunkered down. And for what it's worth, I'm sending my love to anyone who needs it. Okay. Bye. Take care.